Hey everybody, what's going on? Core Conversations for a Monday. Thank you for joining us. I just got talking with a client here in the gym on the way in, so I just want to take some time for that. Otherwise, I would have been on time. So it's funny how being on time is so important to me. That consistency and just priding myself on being here right on time is so key. So being a few minutes late, apologize for that, but good to see you. Michael, how are you? Olivia? Michael, you're not usually on at this time, so it's good to see you. What is going on? Got a couple housekeeping things to do, and then we'll get into our topic. As you see at the top, novelty, challenge, and focus were some of the sound bites from my conversation with the amazing Nora. Okay, back to New York City. Yes. Hi there, Sean. How are you? So this is Core Conversations podcast. New episodes. Hi, Tammy. New episodes every Wednesday. Thank you, my friend. Did we set a date? Sugar mode off. I can't remember if we do have something set. So if we do, that'd be great. Phil, what's going on? Carrie, Phil, if you guys second to join me on screen, jump on. Other than that, I'm not sure if Misty is joining me today. She's not able to join me on Wednesday of this week. So we're just lining some things up. But we had some great guests last week, and I'll just say this just while we're waiting. So I had the amazing, talented, visionary in Nora Jones. So Nora Myers was on Friday. And then before, mixing my days here, 1 second. Can't find it, okay. John Gary was before. So John Gary. So John Gary was my guest. Christopher, what's going on? I feel like scattered this morning. So John Gary was our guest on Thursday, and Nora Myers was our guest on Friday. And Nora was like, tough act to follow, having John Gary on Thursday coming into Friday. She crushed it. Show of hands who was here for Nora on Friday. Nora spoke to, and John Gary's fantastic, so I'll talk about him in a minute, just some of the amazing things that he talks about. But Nora on Friday was so inspiring. For those of you who watched it, yes, Carrie. Actually, Gary, if you want to join me on screen, if you got a second, just to talk about Friday, I have a few notes here. So inspired in terms of trying and failing, and also, yeah, Phil. I can't remember if you're free or if you're still here, but also but she spoke to so many things that were inspiring for us, no matter where we're at in our Pilates journey, our small business journey. Yeah, lots in there. So good to see you, Olivia. Okay, so let me bring Pilates today. So cool.
Hello.
Hello, my friend.
Oh, sorry. Good.
How's it
How are
going?
you? Wonderful.
Good. I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Had a couple clients this morning, kind of just changing
Yep,
gears.
me too. I've already
So,
trained a little bit. I have a little
yeah,
break and then I go back.
back at it. How good
Fabulous.
was Nora on Friday?
Like I was like, no, it can't be over yet.
Fabulous.
I want to keep listening. Because it was such an interesting perspective. And I can't relate to her by
A
any
very
means because
unique
I don't
one.
have those kinds of disabilities. But I remember when I first started my Pilates practice and like going to other studios and everybody was like, oh, you're a ballet dancer. So now I get to do all the advanced exercises with you. And I'm like, I can't. Like, I'm not there yet just because I was a ballet dancer and I have a lot of nerve
Yes.
damage from different head injuries of my head that
Right.
would cause pain radiating down my neck. And so I'm like, I can't do all these
I've
long lever
heard. Yeah.
exercises like the fourth exercise. Like, I really have to build up to it to get there. And then I'm able to do it. But otherwise, it would just set
Yes.
off my nervous
Right.
system. So it was interesting in that retrospect. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I can relate a little bit in what that feels like to a point. But I've worked with a lot of people that they're just like,
Mm,
they just want me to do what the exercise is told. And they're like, but I physically can't do that, or
right.
emotionally can't do that, or neurologically can't do it. So
Yeah.
it's amazing that she's
Right.
gone out there and
Oh,
someone
like,
encouraged her to become a Pilates instructor because she'll be such a great advocate and teacher, even just for me, for you, for anybody, that we could contact her and be like, hey, I have someone with this disorder. What can I do to help since I can't
right.
send them to you?
Right, absolutely. So for those who don't, who weren't there and don't know what we're talking about, Nora, who joined us on Friday, is a Pilates instructor, and she has cerebral palsy, and she has these disabilities. She is very, she's yes, she's cerebral palsy.
Yes.
No, is it? Yes, it was. Okay, so she specializes in bringing that to them and allowing them to come to Pilates to, and then inspiring them, encouraging them to become instructors. We talk so much about representation
Mm-hmm.
from a skin tone perspective. When she's talking from an ability perspective, that representation is also so important. So for her to be an advocate for that and a champion for that is just so it is great, and she was
Mm-hmm.
brilliant. Like, I just listened the whole time, right? Like, yeah. Hi there, Victor. Um, I like what she was talking about trying when we got on the topic, and she was saying about how it's better to try and to fail
Yes.
than to not try, right? So, and she was talking about that. Use example of the CEO of Spanx, and then how that tied into her world, because I mean it's so easy to just stay in what you're comfortable in, and for her, she was in publishing and in books before and got laid off. As much as she was highly recruited, she was laid off, and then while she was still in her sorrows about what to do next with her life, someone
Mm-hmm.
invited her to become a
Yeah.
Pilates instructor, and she just said yes.
Yep. And sometimes that's the door closing and the other door opens without you even thinking about it. Like she said, she was like, I had no thought of becoming a Pilates instructor. And sometimes the
Yeah.
failures bring us our best things because it's not a failure, it's just a bump of learning. And maybe you're just not listening to the way you're supposed to be going. And it's the universe saying, this way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's the one part that I think we miss over so much, is that um the messages that, whether you want to, like, what, insert
Right.
God, the universe, whatever, the messages that are being sent to you
Mm-hmm.
that you ignore along your path until it gets to a place where it's like, okay, well, we're
Right.
going to take your job away, and
No
now you
choice
can listen
here.
to me.
Listen to
Right?
options.
No
Mm-hmm.
choice there.
But again,
Yes.
it's so amazing listening to all the different teachers, but especially her, and just that encouragement of getting out of that stereotypical appearance of a Pilates teacher, that you're all supposed to be wearing Lululemon, we're supposed to have a certain hairstyle, we're supposed to be a certain size, we're supposed to have a certain skin tone, we're supposed to be a certain religion. It's like none of that has anything to do with what we're doing in this room unless we want to connect those things.
Until we want to.
And then again, it's a group thing. It's not me deciding that you need to work on this. It's us deciding that we need to work on that or talk about that.
Right. Exactly. And isn't it interesting for those of you who watched the last maybe 3 or 4 Fridays, how there's this contrast, because Carissa the week before has like an autoimmune condition. So then she does tick the boxes of being, like, as she said,
fitting in that category, right?
Strong-ish, right? So she fits in all those categories, but the things that challenge her are things that aren't visibly there. So there's a prejudgment that goes into those walking into the room with her. So then by contrast, Nora was saying that it's visible when she walks that she has something different. So now to present in a way that's different and still to be welcome and to belong and stuff are like, there's two big messages that are in both of these ladies'
very
stories.
much so. And again, it just goes to show you never know, because people will look at Nora and go, oh, well, she can't do any of these things over here. And it's like, yeah, she can. It's just maybe not what the manual said of that exact exercise. It's going to be her version of that exercise. Just like with Carissa, it's like, you kind of have to look at people like glaciers of like, this is what we see and this is what we don't know. Whether it's trauma, whether it's like nerve damage or immune system with like Carissa, or like with Nora, where it's like, well, I mean, there's some obvious things up here, but she's worked a lot on those things. So she knows, like, today's the day I can push. Today's the day I can't push, just like with Carissa. But it's understanding, as much as we want to, we don't know what's going on under here, down to the, like, the nervous system. And like, I always joke, I'm like, I wish I had an MRI machine that you guys could just stick in there with your reformer and like move. And I'd be like, okay, see, this is where we're firing right or firing wrong.
Yeah. Right. That,
I'll start working on it.
If you want to have like, sure, we're gonna like, and my reformer costs $250,000, right? Like, yeah, it'd be crazy though. Like, can you imagine that, everybody? Like an MRI, you could just see what muscles are firing and which ones are activating.
It would be amazing.
Color code and maybe get like infrared. Maybe like MRI glasses. There we go. Just for the instructors. Hey, there you go. You don't need the big machine. There you go. Man,
that's a good thing.
It's a good thing. So this is the other thing that was interesting is that when I was working for the city of Mississauga, they had us do all these sensitivity trainings and these accessibility things, and I think one was called like "May I help you?" and how to. So we go through all these things, and one of the things they said is when you're talking to people, you say the person with a disability, the person with visual impairment, a person with. And she's like, no, I'm disabled. I'm disabled, or disabled person. And she was throwing the term around, and her point was disabled isn't a bad word.
And we think of it as like beyond, it almost takes, yes, there's a disability, but it doesn't mean that they're disabled in life. Like, they're still a functioning person to what their functions can be. And it's kind of like we put them on this shelf, and it's like, well, you stay here. And you're not allowed to go anywhere higher, and my expectations are that you'll just fall down. And it's like, but why? Why would I expect that? This person might, because she has so much that she has to work on to get her body to go, she might actually do better than the athlete. Because the athlete's like, but I know my patterns, I know this. And this person's like, my body's a mess, so I'm going to kind of figure this out, and I'm going to tell you if this feels good or doesn't feel good.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's more of a connected movement, a more intentional movement, as opposed to someone who is able body in that respect and doesn't think about what the movement looks like. But the The challenge though with what she said with that is I still say disabled person because I
Right.
believe disabled is not a bad word. I feel like I'm still going to use a person with and to identify that as not the whole person simply because I don't want to take that liberty with someone who may be
Right.
offended by that phraseology still. So I mean, so we say that, but I want to say that because the same with so many terms out there. Like I can do my best to redeem a term, but then you go out in the world, use it, and offend somebody. And I don't want to be like hostage to offending people with every word that I say, but I think there still needs to be some sweet spot between the intentionality of the words and what we're trying to address. And like I'm just overthinking things in this moment in time, but like I appreciated the fact that she said that. Like I'm not taking away that word like it's a bad word, like it's a swear word or
Right.
a negative connotation.
And I think that's again, just knowing, getting to know who you're working with. Because if someone just got diagnosed with Parkinson's or MS, they might be a little vulnerable to that word. Where if it's someone who has had it for a long time, they're like,
Right.
yeah, this is what it is. I mean, there's no changing that. It's what I do. So, yeah, it's just certain
Right.
verbiage you always just
Yep.
have to watch with who you're with, no matter what. Because you can get someone,
Absolutely.
like, for example, one day I said, like, don't do a Jane Fonda booty tuck. Like, I just want you to tilt your pelvis, not tuck the pelvis. And like half the room, I was like, oh, okay, so we're offended by Jane Fonda and her political issues. Okay, I need to find a new word for that because now
Right.
we're having a political discussion about Jane Fonda and those issues. And then half the room is like, I don't understand what we're talking about. She was a fitness lady. I'm like, we're just gonna let that go,
Yeah.
and I will find a new phrase for that.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it just depends on your audience and who you're around and that cautious level of offending or supporting.
Right. Exactly. The term that used to stay in football is keep your head on a swivel.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just always be looking around what's happening in my surroundings. How can I just keep that all moving? That's crazy. So she was good and she really embraced where she was. And I think also with Nora, it went from last time when I spoke with her, she wasn't a new instructor, but she was teaching in one studio in that city
Mm-hmm.
and just finding her groove, just embracing who she was, starting to put posts up and just she was beginning to welcome people into the dialogue about disabilities and Pilates. And now she is like consulting because people have seen the work that she's put into it, seen her posts, seen her like community wise what she's doing, and now instructors like you and I are messaging her like, I have this new client that has this condition. What do you suggest that I do? How do I add to the work that I'm doing? I'm doing these 5 exercises. I need
Right.
more, like, that sort of thing. So it's turning into a
Which will be
consulting gig for
amazing
her.
because that will just help so many instructors, so many instructor students. Like it'll be an amazing perspective and how much she can give to the Pilates community in that way. Because
Right.
asking her something is
Yeah.
going to get more of a direct and realistic movement exercise. Like, well, this is what it feels like to me, and this is how I've taught people with this.
Right.
So these are kind of the ranges in which it is. And I'm excited to watch what she does.
Absolutely.
And how she grows with it. And like, I'm just like, oh, I'm so excited for you.
Here. Right? So Pilates with Disabilities. Nora's based out of I believe Winnipeg too. So it's not like she's in the mecca of some Pilates, New York City or whatever. Like she is in middle of Canada doing this and on a global scale now, and it's growing. And she's finding her voice, she's finding her lane, she's finding her people, and is doing great work. So I'm gonna make that the podcast for this week. I wanted to get back out there for people to hear her talk because it was a great message, and it wasn't even all about disabilities, which I loved about the conversation is that it was like that was just once again it's a person doing Pilates, and then they're bringing how we do Pilates is how we do life, right?
Yes.
Like that becomes like the catchphrase up around here on Core Conversations. because she talks about, you know, like losing a job, finding, you know, facing her fears, embracing her role, like making some changes, like disappointments and ups and downs. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sounds like me. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's nothing different about all that stuff. So why isn't there representation in the studio with people that quote unquote look like her?
Mm-hmm.
That's her whole thing. So I
Yes.
think this is a great conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she's so good. Yes.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for jumping on. It's so funny. I honestly I appreciate you always being
Oh,
in the
thank you.
chat and just contributing, and our conversation was so good and so insightful. And it helps me to bounce, like just the conversation we're having. I'm processing that last conversation and having another, you know, human here
Absolutely.
to bounce off of. Helps me too, right?
Yes. Wonderful. Well, have a
Yeah.
wonderful day, and I'll see you later.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. All right. See ya. Thank you, Carrie. Amit, how are you? Love Moon Pilates, what's going on? The other thing that we talked about, and once again, this comes back to the normalization of the conversation when it comes to us all being Pilates people, regardless of whether you are a male Pilates instructor or you are, as Nora would say, a disabled Pilates instructor. I like how she leaned into that word, female, whatever the case is. You can install whatever descriptor in front of Pilates instructor. We started to simply talk about movement, talked about the healing of movement, the power of movement, and the challenge of movement. So, as you see as the title here, novelty, challenge, and focus. That was a fun part of the conversation when we started to just get into the real, we're starting to geek out on movement. And I like how she packaged that. And it may be someone else's wording from another book or something. I'm not sure where it came from, but it was new for me. I hadn't heard it before. So she's talking about how we need novelty, challenge, and focus for people to grow, to get stronger, to progress in their work. Keeping exercises, and you could just, as you can see, it's pretty easy to spell out what that means. Are we challenging with new nuances to an exercise, a new exercise, a different order, those sort of things? Is there challenge? Are we changing some of the variables within those exercises? And lastly, can we get them to focus? And having the novelty and the challenge, it may be enough for them to focus because they're not doing something. They're starting with their left leg instead of their right leg for leg circles. That's novelty, right? Whatever the case is. So I like those words, and it made me think about my clients and where I'm just sprinkling in the novelty, challenge, and focus components to those exercises. What do you all think about that? The novelty, challenge, and focus when it comes to our exercise prescription for our people. You can either request to join on screen or just write in the chat. What does that mean for you? Novelty, challenge, and focus when it comes to the people that we work with. Hi, Ginger TBK. There's always a pause while people are writing in the chat and the delay there, so that's why you hear me just go completely quiet. I'm comfortable with the silence and just leaning into that as well. So Carrie here saying, listen, move, watch, learn, flow, and communication. Listen, move, watch, learn. What's going on, coach? Yeah, so Carrie's saying listen, move, watch, learn, flow, and communication. That flow, that could be a course in and of itself there, Carrie. You can just take 1 week on each of those topics. Because I agree with that wholeheartedly. I was saying on Friday when we were talking about that novelty, challenge, and focus, I did something that, because I'm comfortable with my client, I've had her for a long time, because I'm comfortable with the work and what we're working on, I did something that most people would frown upon. Most people here in the chat have heard us talk about this, and it in and of itself is almost like a forbidden word. I had a client do an exercise, and she was very, very proficient at it. And then she started to lose her focus on it. So I challenged her. I stopped her mid-set. We were doing some exercise, like it was a weight exercise, a loaded exercise using the Viper. So a multi-joint, multi-planar movement. So it's not like she was doing a bicep curl. She had to do something different. I stopped her mid-set and I told her, just do 3 more, but they have to be perfect. 3 more reps and they have to be perfect. And let her go. The reason why I did that, and everyone's like, perfect. We can't do perfect. What is perfect? I wanted her to focus as much as possible on getting the exercise as close to her best rep as possible. That was perfect. And I didn't say that long diatribe to get her to move. I said, I want the next 3 to be perfect. And she, in her head, knew what perfect looked like. Perfect looked like her best rep, which might have been rep 4 from set 1, where it was a connected movement. She felt, she flowed through the exercise. She didn't lose her balance, had to regain balance. She felt strong in her body. All of that stuff was a perfect rep. So as she got tired, the novelty was come back to a perfect rep. The challenge is the body is completely fatigued, so she had to focus to be able to get there. So I didn't say stop. Here's a heavier weight. Stop. Do this with your eyes closed now. Like, I mean, I made the challenge of the exercise the fact that she's pre-fatigued going to those last 3 reps. The novelty is I want you to dial it in and make it perfect. I don't want you just to finish the exercise. It could be ugly and still be safe. It actually had to be perfect. Okay, lock in. Let's get it. Do the exercise. Boom. And she did it. Novelty, challenge, and focus. Expected perfection, and she delivered on that perfection, because like when Nora was talking about disability, we defined the word perfect in a way that was palatable. It wasn't something that was unattainable way out there. It's something that she already did, and now I'm calling her back to it. So I'm gonna let me read through some of these comments here, starting from Carrie here. So Carrie said, you were asking her to focus in on her movement, to be in the exercise and not just do the exercise. Right. Screenshot that. And Amit saying, totally valid. We know it's not quote unquote perfect, as good as she can do in that moment. Yeah. So how come that can't be the definition of perfect, right? Helen Hayes, someone said, I'll sometimes say on the last rep, make this one the best one of them all, right? Yeah, I say that too as well, and sometimes feel like, yep, that's the best, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they feel like they've given the best, so they're 100% of the 12% that's left, that's their best rep. And that's why I gave her a moment pause mid-set to catch her breath, to lock in once again and do it. Because if she had continued, she would continue to be depleted by the time she got that last rep. So I gave her like just a brief moment to reset and chase after that perfection for 3 reps. So there's a comment here earlier from me saying, for me, the focus should always be there regardless. It comes from practice and from within. Novelty and challenge are great and can be thrown in as appropriate. Yes. Well, yeah, I think that once you have novelty and challenge along with that focus, then there's progression, right? Like then there's that growth and strength. Yeah, that's good stuff. But yeah, so I think that sometimes our words we get hung up on the words and hung up on poor definitions of those words, and I think that we have the power to redeem and redefine those words, and also work from a place of understanding, so people know what we want from them, what's in them, and how to pull that out of them. Right. That was my thoughts on that. I appreciate your comments on that, and or also to that, like I mean, with this client this morning, I had him doing an exercise, and he's doing to the best of his ability. And then I gave him a few tactile cues, and then he's like, "Oh, like that was like it's harder." I was like, "Good. I want you to recreate that feeling, not recreate the move. Make the move look like this. Make it look perfect like this. Make sure your toe looks like that. It's like, how does that feel in your body right now? Remember that. Find that feeling again." And that was a cue that I used this morning. So I'd love to hear your cues. I'd love to hear you speak to those things. Like, Helen, that was awesome. Like, just like make this the best one of them all. Like that, using that line, people will dial in and give you the best that they have, right? So, what other lines do you use? What works for you? What works for your people? Yeah, thumbs up from me there. Yeah. While we're waiting for people to comment on what some of those phrases that they use for their people are, I remember I had a client back in the day who, when he was doing his bench press or exercises where like normally your first rep is your strongest rep, he would say the number 1 on every rep. So instead of going like 1, 2, 3, 4, he would go 1, 1, 1, 1. Like the first rep is the strongest rep. So I'm just going to call every rep the first rep. That was his strategy. That was legit his strategy. It killed me. Every time he did that, I was like, oh yeah, why is he? Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. So next week we come and do stuff and you do that again. I'm like, what? Oh yeah, that's right. First rep is your strongest rep. Gotcha. Yeah. So I thought it was funny. That was his deal. I'm gonna remind. I can probably message him today. I still see him on my Facebook from time to time. Carrie Miller, Pilates, what's going on? How are you? Before I ask Carrie what she has going on, if any of you have any online classes, workshops, groups, things that are going on right now, I'd love to hear from you. Put it in the chat, request to join on screen, and let's talk about what you got going on. Carrie, if you want to talk about what you and ARC Pilates are doing, your mom's group that supports. Good morning. Oh yes, West Coast, good morning. Love to hear. Okay, good. That's powerful, Carrie, to take that pause. Uh, the comment here for those who watch this afterwards, it says, I'm taking a pause right now and Amy and I are working on a fall program. I'm off till the 20th. Amazing. The good for you to take that pause. We need to take that pause. Respect for the pause. Cool. Yeah, so that is really all I had. We talked with Connect the movement. Oh yes, right. Oh yeah, that's right. It's so funny the comments for the other part. So connect movement with your breath. The comments are from before. That's a good one. Connect the movement with your breath. I find like phrases like that are really good. Those comments are really good, and I like them when people don't understand fully what that means yet, and you just kind of throw it out there. You throw it out there and let them interpret it, and then run from their interpretation. Sorry, what does that mean? You're taking the month of August off. Crazy. So totally taking my first intentional pause in August for a whole month. Good for you. Enjoy your family time. Enjoy the reset. That is awesome. Let's celebrate that. Anyone else taking some time off? And I mean, is the whole family taking time off, or is it just you taking time off and just letting everyone else do their thing? Yeah, Bianca, you have a baby too, so you're probably you don't have a break for the next 17 years. Um, oh, amazing. Hi, my love. Just working. Um, Off to Israel. That's gonna be so good. Good for you. Bianca, do you have any more workshops or anything coming up? Oh, is CanFit Pro happening this year too? Is CanFit Pro live this year? Applies Carrie. Nope, took time off during with. So sorry, Carrie's reading. Nope, I took time off during COVID with my newborn and toddler now playing catch up on things I should work on more. Okay, cool. Not for now. Yeah, a lot of people are still catching up from COVID, but still, I would say your work is only as good as your rest. So even in that catch up, if you need to take a moment, even a day, to reset, it definitely helps, right? So especially with young kids, man, like, whew, been there. It is live. All right, so I gotta reach out to my T-Rex peeps. Okay, so Bianca is saying it is live. Meritu has workshops, but I'm not back yet, so I'll come over when I have something going on. Yes, Fridays. I started to take Fridays less off, mornings and then back out. The okay, I gotta get back onto. I think that's August here, right? Can't fit. I don't know if I'll do anything at CanFit this year. I speaking of taking time off, as I'm preparing for the next chapter of my career with City Council, I decided to take off, May till October from doing a lot of Pilates stuff. Chose to stay connected here because this is just life giving for me. I can't give that up. It may look different. I have Misty coming in and different things happening, but there's still that pause in terms of speaking, and I'm missing with Momentum Fest, and I'm missing some opportunities to meet and greet and to do some stuff. So I've slowed the growth process, but still want to stay connected. But CanFit would be, I haven't done my T-Rex work in a while, so it'd be good to get there too. Bianca, I think that's where I met you initially too. There's got to be a picture of you teaching us Pilates on some Meritu equipment. So that was fun. So Alex, where are you now? Just I know you're somewhere in the States waiting for Molly, but where are you, what did you end up landing? Starbucks it is. Nice. Yes. Buffalo Starbucks. You should go to the Pilates lab in Buffalo. Nice. Or I can Betty's. Get some ribs. I don't know if they're even open still. Shout out to the Buffalo community. Shout out to our media community too, as well. I'm as much as I'm here. I'm also in my head in Meadowville. Funny enough, Ward 9, exactly where I'm running for campaigning. On the sidebar, thank you, Amit. Thanks for jumping in. Have a great week to you as well. Yeah, so there's a fire in Meadowville, and there's like 36 homes. People are displaced. So lots of stuff happening in my immediate area that is on my heart. And I feel like as much as I want to get through my day, I almost feel like I want to rush through my day to just get out and just find out what's happening in my community. So much love to those in Meadowville. I know some people who jump into the chat from time to time. Let's find out ways that we can support our immediate community when there's that loss. So fortunately, there was no lives lost. There's just a lot of houses, a lot of homes lost, and that's tough. That is a lot. Losing your wallet sucks. Losing your house is like a next level. So I'm sure that people are just scrambling to figure things out today. So we want to be there and support in every way we can. All right. I am going to jump off right about now. We have a few guests lined up for this week, some people that adjusted. So I didn't even talk about the fact that Kathy Ross Nash on Wednesday too. That was fantastic. And she's talking about her app. The app is fantastic, by the way. If you get a chance to download her app, who's KRN app? I write that down in the chat. Okay. Did anyone get that? KRN app? Anybody? Yes, Carrie, have a wonderful day. Check that out. Definitely check out that app. So she has a lot of exercises, and it lends to Amit, you're gonna love this. I'm calling it the Amit Younger method of Pilates studio class presentation. How's that? I'll work on that. Working title. But the semi-private, the open gym thing. So we equip our clients, we give them those tools, but then also here's a great tool to supplement that and to help them in the way they do things. So I'm a big Amit fan. He's a legit fantastic teacher. So that is cool. I think that I'm going to use this as I start to implement some stuff. So, all right, I'm rambling now. Thank you so much. We're back at it tomorrow, 10 o'clock, Core Conversations, Freestyles guests. If you've never been a guest, please message me. I'd love to have you on. Love to hear your story. And Dr. Giovanna, thank you for joining us. Thanks for jumping into the chat. Michelle, thank you for joining us. And we are out. Have a great day.